we want to help each other. And yet it's so scary. It's so scary to ask for help. We have these internal narratives like I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get denied. I'm going to look stupid. And I'm not stupid, right? There's that identity crisis. So it's like, I don't want to look stupid because I'm not stupid, but I know if I ask for help, I'm going to look stupid. And it's scary. And you're not alone. It also breaks this illusion of being in control. And I don't care who you are, you like to be in control. Yeah, from a young age, as soon as you know how to do something yourself, you're going to want to do it by yourself. No, let me pour the milk in my cereal, even if I spill it everywhere. I want to do it. I want to hold the door open. I want to get dressed myself. I want to have control over the things that I can control. And so when you do need to ask for help, all of a sudden, this illusion of being in control of every facet of your life is broken. And again, it becomes this like identity crisis. Like, what is wrong with me? Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co-host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show. I hate asking for help, even when I so clearly need it. But I love helping people. What's that about? Right? Like, I love showing up for other people. But when it comes to asking someone else to have that same opportunity to help me, I totally cringe. Are you the type of person that also loves to help others, but something kind of intense happens in your chest when you have to ask a question, even if it's help for the little things, right? Getting something off the top shelf or asking directions. Did you know if you practice asking for help for those little things, it will get easier when it comes to a really difficult time and you got to ask for help for something hard or big. I want to talk about asking for help today. And today I am solo. My sister and co-host is unable to join me and may not be here for a couple of weeks. So sorry, folks, you're just dealing with me today. But that's okay because I asked for help. I asked for help from my brother-in-law to help watch my son. I asked for help from my other sister when it came to advice for my sick kid. And I asked for help from my sister Annika to help my husband with something. And so I'm realizing that there are some times that I need to ask for help, and there's sometimes that I can show up and do something alone. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, have you ever been at the grocery store and you can't find the bread? And it seems like it would be in such a logical place, but you can't find it. You'll go from aisle to aisle to aisle, searching, even looking for the little directory, and you still can't find it. Are you going to allow yourself to continue to search aisle and aisle, or are you going to stop and ask? Whether it be someone who works there or someone who's shopping, who has bread in their cart, clearly they know where it is. I think it is an analogy for our lives. Often we will go our lives searching aisle and aisle, seeing people with the things that we want, things that we're looking for, and we're afraid to go, hey, how did you get that? I want that too. Why are we so scared? Well, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about why it's hard to ask for help and when you know that you need to ask for help and how it can build that muscle memory. Now, it I want to say here that it's not weakness. I used to think that asking for help means I wasn't enough, right? That I wasn't capable enough. And it does take some courage, especially in the beginning, to get in the practice of asking for help. But that's not true. Like you aren't weak, you aren't incapable, you aren't lacking in some way. You're not actually meant to do it alone. It takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to be a human. We are social by nature. And that isn't just for the fun stuff, that's also for the hard things. And so I want to encourage you to listen with an open heart and keep in mind that you're not meant to do this life alone. So, why does asking for help seem so hard? Why does it seem so scary? Well, because it threatens our sense of competence. From a young age, we are conditioned to learn how to do things on our own. I can't wait till my son can hold his bottle, till he can feed himself, put himself to bed. And when he does start to do those things, I will praise them because it's important for him to learn how to do these things on his own. But when you're so focused on doing things on your own and being taught that you need to be independent, you need to learn how to go to the bathroom by yourself, you need to learn how to self-entertain. I can't always play with you. You start to get conditioned to think that, oh, I'm supposed to do it alone. And so when we get older, we carry that with us. We think, I should be able to do this. What's wrong with me? Why am I struggling? Or I can't handle this. Like, if I can't handle the small things, then will I ever be able to handle the big things? And we start to question our ability and our competence. But none of that is true. Our nervous system reads as asking for help for some reason as a risk of our identity. Like we're being questioned, our whole selves is being questioned. And that's not what it is. But I understand. I understand that that is how it feels because that is exactly how it feels for me and how it has felt for me for a long time. And the more I practice this, the easier it gets. It's scary to ask for help because you're being vulnerable in real time. And it's not always planned, right? You're not like, okay, I'm going to go to the store and then I'm not going to find the pickles. And so then I'm going to ask somebody. You have no way to prepare. In that moment, you may have be stressed from work or in a rush. And being vulnerable is 10 times scary when you haven't emotionally prepared to be vulnerable. But it takes courage. And I recognize that. But we're courageous, right? We're doing this. We're doing this and we're doing it together. So I understand that it's a little scary and being vulnerable and not understanding what the outcome's going to be, right? You can stop and ask someone for help for directions, and maybe they don't know and they can't help you. And you're like, I just wasted my vulnerability. I just opened up and asked for help and they couldn't help me. I mean, that's scary. And having to sit in that moment of uncertainty, right? When you finally build up the courage and you're going to ask for help and maybe it's asking directions or maybe it's finding something in the grocery store, but you're going to ask for help. Maybe it's a project at work and you're going to your boss because you got to sign this project because well, clearly they think you're capable of doing the project, but you have questions and you're just not sure how to proceed. And so you muster up the courage to walk into your boss's office and go, hey, I'm really excited about doing this project. I know that I can do it, but there's some steps that I don't understand, or there's some parts that I need some help in. And in that moment, that millisecond, it's not very long, but in that moment when you have been vulnerable and you have asked for help and you are waiting to see how they respond, it feels like a lifetime having to sit in that discomfort of how are they going to respond? Are they going to be happy I'm asking? Are they going to be surprised? Are they going to judge me? Because I'm judging myself right now, right? And so it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't take a lifetime. It doesn't take minutes. It's seconds. It's seconds of discomfort. And this is why I talk about discomfort all the time and why you need to push towards it. Because when there are opportunities to sit in discomfort, it's not as uncomfortable if you are constantly allowing yourself to go into discomfort. If you are avoiding discomfort, then that moment where you're waiting to see how the other one responds can be pretty heavy. That that pause between asking and receiving is terrifying. You feel exposed and you don't know what's going to happen next. We have that cultural conditioning, like you have to be independent. If you're smart, you'll figure it out. If you're creative, you're going to figure it out. I remember my dad used to say that only bored people get bored. Like only boring people get bored. And if ever found myself kind of bored and like wanting to like, dad, like entertain me, asking for help, I was scared because I don't want my dad to think I'm boring. I'm not boring. I'm fun. I'm cool. I'm a little weird. And that makes me fun and cool. But I really cared about what my dad thought. And so I would not go to him to ask for help or to be entertained because I didn't want to be judged. And I didn't want to feel like a burden from such a young age. I felt like I was a burden on my family. And I think that comes from all the health issues that I had. And I did demand a lot of attention. That wasn't my fault, but I needed a lot of love and attention from both my parents. And I know it caused a lot of stress in their lives and took away from my older brother and my younger brother, and later, my other little sisters. But I had this feeling as soon as I could recognize it, like, I don't want to be a burden on my family. And as humans, we feel that way. We don't want to be an inconvenience. We don't want to ever have a negative interaction with someone. We want to be the reason why they smile, why they feel lifted up, why they had a great day. And if we ask for help, like maybe I'm going to stress them out. Maybe they don't have the help to give. I don't want to burden them with additional stress. And because they love me and they want to help me, they're going to, but are they going to resent me? Like these are some of the questions and some of the thoughts that I would have over and over again. I also think it comes from a place of not knowing that you can take up space. I know I struggled with that. I struggled with allowing myself to be seen and allowing myself to take up space. And I think that is a human thing. I don't think I'm the only person who has struggled with that. So when you're like wanting to ask for help, your brain is telling you you're interrupting, you're being a burden. They're busy. They don't have time to help you. And you have to fight that because those things aren't true. And maybe you do ask for help. And in that moment, someone can't help you. They don't have the answers, or maybe they are a little busy. But that is rare, my friends. And I don't want to set you up with this false belief that every time you ask for help, people are going to be jolly and they're going to want to help you. But most of the time, that's true. It is incredibly rare that someone's going to be like, nah, I can't. I can't right now. And I bet if they can't, they have a really good reason and they're not going to be rude about it. They're going to explain, I actually have a really full plate, so I can't, come help you on this project. But you can vent to me about it later, or I know someone else who can help you. We want to help each other. And yet it's so scary. It's so scary to ask for help. We have these internal narratives like, I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get denied. I'm going to look stupid. And I'm not stupid, right? There's that identity crisis. So it's like, I don't want to look stupid because I'm not stupid, but I know if I ask for help, I'm going to look stupid. And it's scary. And you're not alone. It also breaks this illusion of being in control. And I don't care who you are, you like to be in control. Yeah, from a young age, as soon as you know how to do something yourself, you're going to want to do it by yourself. No, let me pour the milk in my cereal, even if I spill it everywhere. I want to do it. I want to hold the door open. I want to get dressed myself. I want to have control over the things that I can control. And so when you do need to ask for help, all of a sudden, this illusion of being in control of every facet of your life is broken. And again, it becomes this like identity crisis. Like, what is wrong with me? And it's hard for people who especially need control, who haven't learned to let go and kind of ride the wave, be like water. Asking for help is painful, is painful. I remember there was a time years ago, gosh, 10 years ago, where I had really bad vertigo and I didn't know that's what it was. But I was sick alone in my apartment and I could not get up. Like the room was spinning and I kept on like having to crawl off my bed and literally like army crawl to the toilet to throw up. And I needed help. I didn't know what was going on. I'd never experienced it before. I felt like I was dying. It was terrifying. And I'm sitting like in the bathroom crying. And I'm just like, I need to get up. I need to go to the doctor. I need to drive. But I can't drive like that. And I remember thinking, like, where is my phone? And I couldn't find my phone. So I'm like crawling throughout my apartment and I find my phone in the living room and I'm holding my phone and I'm staring at it. And I'm looking at maybe calling my sister, maybe my mom, maybe my dad. Like, I need to call someone for help. And it was so scary that I stared at that phone probably like 30 minutes, just like dry heaving and closing my eyes intermittently because the room was just spinning so intensely. And I remember calling out to God, like, please, there has to be a way to make this go away without me asking for help. Please don't make me ask for help. You see, the thing is I felt like I was dying, but that was less scary to me than picking up the phone and calling my mom or dad or sister, people I trust, people who I know love me and who will show up for me. It was scarier to ask for help, to go to the emergency room than to deal with what I was dealing with. And I to this day, it's just crazy to me that I was so terrified. And I think it was that loss of control. I was so afraid to admit that I couldn't do it by myself. And I I know I'm not the only one. Eventually I did pick up the phone and I think I called my mom because in those moments you need your mom. And without skipping a beat, she showed up. She took me to the doctor. We found out what it was. They got me feeling better. My mom helped nurse me back to health, and I was okay. But I was miserable for an entire day and really like scared for a good couple of hours before I had the courage to ask for help. And it was honestly the a Hail Mary. Like I thought, okay, this is my last shot because I'm gonna die. That's how awful it was. But I'm so glad that I finally mustered up the courage to ask for help. And all I needed was someone to take me to the doctor. But there have been times that I have been, lost and needed directions or struggled with a project at work, and I am feeling that same terror. It may not be life and death, but it feels that way. It feels that way in my chest. And so I'm like, why the heck do these tiny moments feel so scary? Like what's wrong with me, right? Again, nothing. There's nothing wrong with you. But when those tiny moments feel so scary, I think it's because you don't have this like justification. And usually when you're asking for help with small things, you're asking people who maybe don't know you as well. Like, asking for help on a work project or asking for directions or asking where the aspirin is in the store. There's these strangers and they don't know you, they don't know your story. And when it's something big, you can explain, listen, I'm going through a hard time right now. I'm going through something. I'm sick. I feel like I'm dying. Come help me. And people of course are going to come help you and usually go to those that love you and know you and you have been able to go to before that you do trust and have shown up in the past. But when it comes to these tiny tasks, you don't have that cushion. And it's usually not that person. So your brain is like, what's wrong with me? This is such a small thing. Why can't I handle this myself? And that makes us feel small and unjustified and needing help. But it's completely normal. Isn't it crazy? We feel all these crazy intense emotions, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one suffering from this. And you're not. You are not. Also, with those small things that cost benefit doesn't quite feel logical in our nervous system. So, it only takes like 2 seconds, but will struggle for hours. Like, again, I'm, miserable in my apartment, feeling like I'm going to die for an entire day. I think it maybe was longer, maybe it was a day and a half. But then there were several hours where I knew I needed to get help, but I still struggled. And it doesn't make sense because all I had to do was pick up my phone and call my family, and the call probably lasted 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And so it's contradictory to our nervous system. Like it only takes a couple of seconds, only takes a couple of minutes to ask for help. Yet I have been struggling with this for such a long time. And so it makes it harder, right? The longer you go without asking for help, it gets scarier. And asking exposes us. We feel completely naked. And in moments of needing help, you're already feeling pretty vulnerable because you can't figure it out yourself. So then when you have to ask for something so small, it's like a compound effect. It's like 10 times more scary. And it's almost like your nervous system prefers you to ask for help for big things. And I think that's just because you haven't practiced asking for help with the small things. Tiny asks take practice and they do build up that muscle memory for the big asks. You start to learn that there are people who love and support you. And on some level, like your body knows, okay, like this isn't as scary and it's just yet building up that muscle memory. And I think we forget that these small moments can carry so much weight. We think, oh, it's not a big deal. I don't need to stop for directions or I don't need to ask for help on this project. I'll just figure it out. And maybe you get to where you're going without asking for help. Maybe you finish the project and it's pretty good, right? I'm not saying every time that you need help, it's going to be detrimental. But when you don't ask for help in those small moments, when a medium-sized moment comes up, what are you going to do? Are you going to let it become a bigger moment? Are you going to be too afraid to ask because, gosh, I couldn't ask on the small thing, right? And there are these levels of problems that we need help getting solved. And if you're too scared to ask for help for the small things, then what happens when it really is life and death? So let's reframe this a little. Asking for help is not a character flaw, right? We're human. You've been conditioned to want to do things on your own and to want to be in control. And that's great. Independence is great. I'm incredibly independent and it's taken me very far in life. But I'll tell you, it has taken me up to a certain limit, right? So let's rephrase, reframe. It can feel awkward at first because it's unfamiliar. It can be scary because it's unfamiliar. But do you have that friend? I know my husband's actually pretty good at asking for help, at least when it comes to me. Maybe not directions, but asking for help from me. And I'm always impressed because he'll ask for help for even small things that I feel like he knows how to do. But I show up for him and he asks for help so easily. And you may have a friend or a family member like that that's not afraid to go, hey, I need help with this. I think that it's something that we can get better at. And we have some of those people in our lives that are good examples. And how do you respond, right? The opportunity to help someone. I love that. Do you know how good it feels when I have a friend or family member who could go to anyone and they called me? They asked me for help. They think I can help them. I mean, talk about an ego boost. It makes me feel so good. And I think that I'm not the only one who feels that way. It's this two-way energy exchange. When you show up to help someone, you feel like you're productive. Even if I have a whole list of things I want to accomplish today and someone calls and says, I need your help, if that is all I do today, drive and pick them up because they have a flat tire, or maybe someone's sick and I drop off a care basket, or there's a work project and I need to stop what I'm doing to help them, finish theirs, I actually don't feel burdened. I feel helpful. I feel productive. I feel like I am a good member of society. Look at me, I'm helping people. And so, why wouldn't you give someone else the opportunity to feel that way? I really do think it's this exchange. If you are someone who is a giver, who loves to help, then I think that you need to have this balance and you need to allow others to help you. Life is about balance. It's that yin and that yang. And so if you're constantly showing up to help others, but you're not allowing others to show up and help you, you're going to have this imbalance. And I think you can feel that. It's not charity, it's connection. It's it's building this village of people who help each other. And you have to be a part of that. You can't just be the one. You're not, a savior. I used to have a bit of a savior's complex. I'm going to go around helping everyone, saving everyone else, but don't help me. I'm not a victim. I don't need help. That's not good either to think that you don't need help. There's an imbalance there. And when it comes to asking for help, I know I've talked about work projects and finding pickles in the grocery store or bread, or, how I kicked off this call mentioning I asked my brother-in-law to help watch my son. There are different kinds of help, and some of these might feel small to you and some might feel big. And what might be interesting is to each individual, it varies, right? So there's practical asking for help. So reaching something off on top of a top shelf or delegating a project at work or just asking someone to, I didn't hear you. Can you explain this again? Or help me understand. So there's practical ways. These small, practical ways of asking for help are such a great way to build some muscle memory. I used to, when I didn't hear someone, I just pretend I could hear them because I was so afraid to be like, I don't know what you said, because I thought I would look dumb or deaf. And sometimes maybe I'm both, I don't know, but I would be too afraid. But now I have no problem, even if it's two or three times. What did you say? I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. Asking to get something off the top shelf, it actually brings smiles to, tall people in the grocery store. It helps them have a sense of purpose. So I love it. I love to ask for help, and it's helped me build that muscle memory. But then there's this emotional help, right? And this can be calling a friend and just saying, I'm not okay. I have a group of young moms and that we're all going through this together, first time moms. And we've promised each other that we're just going to reach out and say when I'm not okay, that it is a safe place. It doesn't mean I need to be fixed. It doesn't mean I need anything except maybe just someone knowing that I'm not okay. But also, it could be getting together. It's hard, raising, a new baby for the first time. And so having another mom or a friend come over and help you carry the load. It doesn't have, again, have to be that there's anything that needs to be fixed. It just is easier to shoulder the responsibility when the weight is divided and when it's someone that you enjoy spending time with. Or maybe it's a little bit deeper and a little bit more intense. Maybe you have feelings of loneliness or you're grieving. There are some heavy times where we need to ask for help. And it can be really scary, especially if you don't even like to ask for help to get the pickles off the top shelf. And so, in those moments when you do need more emotional support, you're going to want to have that muscle memory built up. And you're going to want to know the right people to go to, people that you have probably helped before, individuals that have responded well to you helping them and you loving and supporting them. Those are usually the same people that will show up well for you. There's also a little less heavy, like asking for help, just general life guidance or wisdom. Someone who has maybe bought a business before and you really want to buy a business, but you don't know how, or you want to understand a certain industry a little bit more, or what kind of job, what day to day looks like in this job. Ask for help. Yeah, we can use ChatGPT and ChatGPT is great, but it's no replacement for that human connection or real uh, lived advice and experience. Or maybe you're going through a tough time in your relationship and you need to go to marriage counseling or couples counseling. That can be really helpful. And that even brings us to more professional or medical help. I am injured my left ankle right after I'm having my baby because I got cleared for exercise and I was like, woohoo, I'm gonna jump rope and I'm gonna kickbox and I'm gonna do box jumps and I'm gonna run. And I did all these things super intense because I'm gonna get super fit and I'm gonna be in the best shape ever. And I hurt myself. I went way too hard. And I hurt myself in September. Maybe it was early October, but I hurt myself a few months ago. And I just now went to the doctor. I mean, clearly I could use a little more practice asking for help. But, there are these times of when you're like, okay, I finally need help. So going to the doctor when you have an injury or maybe physical therapy or just, getting some support, getting a life coach. There are all these ways to get professional and medical help that are we have whole industries built in helping people. So why wouldn't you go? Why wouldn't you go? Like, I have insurance. I don't know why I was so resistant to getting help. And I think it's also because I don't always know when to ask. And maybe you're like me. Like, I thought my ankle was going to get better. I'm like, I'd had a baby. So this pain is not that bad. I've gotten hurt before and I've shook it off and just was able to do other exercises and that's what I've been doing, but I've still been going pretty hard. And I think that we sometimes forget, maybe it's not that we're scared to ask for help because we're like, all right, I know that it's good and I've built some muscle memory, but I struggle with this is knowing when because again, I'm independent, I can figure it out, but it will take me twice or four times, 10 times as long. If I'd gone to see the doctor in September when I hurt my ankle, instead of waiting till almost February, it would probably already be recovered by now. I'd probably be back to kickboxing and jump roping and box jumps and running and all the super intense things I like to do. But I can't even balance on it. So even the slow flow yoga, trying to balance on my left foot sucks. And if I had just gone to the doctor 4 months ago, I would not be in this position. So when do you ask? How do you know? Well, there's some signs. If you're stuck in the same loop, so maybe it's a thought process, maybe it's a project you're not moving forward on, or for me, I'm having to favor my right foot and I'm having to favor my exercises and adjust them. I mean, after a couple of months, I should have been aware to say, hey, you're in a loop here. Let's break this loop. Let's stop the cycle. Or if your body's sending signals, pain, I've been in pain. At what point, was my brain going to be like, this pain is not normal and you've had it for 4 months, right? So there are these signals that you need to pay attention to. And it could also be exhaustion or anxiety, right? Our bodies talk to us. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not a huge advocate in like self-medicating, even taking ibuprofen, because the pain is a signal. The anxiety is a symptom. It's usually not the problem, it's the symptom. So if you're constantly having pain or exhaustion or anxiety, what else is going on? And how long have you been experiencing it? Also, if you're just noticing you're more irritable, you're snapping at people, or maybe you're withdrawing, you're not being yourself, right? If you've stopped being yourself, at some point something has changed and maybe you need help because you haven't been able to get back on track. If you feel like the world is closing in, or if it truly feels like the end of the world or you're dying, it was just vertigo, but I felt like I was dying. These are the times that you want to ask for help. And remember, it's not noble. It's not noble to suffer. It's not noble to wait until you break. I've seen this so much with moms specifically, and I saw it a lot with my mom that she would just go and go and go until she couldn't go anymore. And it was almost this badge of honor. Like, I have given you everything. I have shown up for my husband and for all my kids and my friends and my church callings, and I've done it all. And I haven't done anything for myself, and I've had enough. And I am just going to go and go shopping therapy or go in the garden for hours at a time. And I think we have this idea that that's noble, that's courageous, but it's not. Going to your breaking point, going until you hit rock bottom is not ideal. Let's catch ourselves before it gets that far. Let's allow ourselves to listen to our bodies and to recognize the signs early on. Asking sooner is actually incredibly wise and intuitive. You know, it takes a village, whether it is your mental health or raising a child or building a business. You can't do it yourself and you're not supposed to. There are people who are waiting to help you. I know that all the struggles that I have gone through my life, the reason why I've gone through those is so that I can help other people. That's why I have this podcast. That's why I feel so desperate to get my book out there. And I am working on it, you guys. I am working on it because I feel this calling to help. So allow me to help you, allow others to help you because we're supposed to. It is a part of being human. We are not gods in this existence for a reason. We are supposed to have some earthly limitations because we're spiritual beings having this human experience, right? And part of being human is having that village, coming together and connecting. So, with our self coaching segment, I encourage you to spend some time journaling and reflecting. One of the questions that has been incredibly impactful in my life is asking myself, is there a area in my life that I am refusing to ask for help or that I'm pretending I don't need help? Like I am consciously avoiding asking for help in this area. That's really telling. Let's focus there. What's going on with that? Also, do I constantly carry burdens alone? And do I feel like I'm strong because I'm carrying them alone? You know, have you ever moved and there's maybe a heavy piece of furniture, a couch or an entertainment center, and maybe you could lift it by yourself? Couch would be hard, entertainment center maybe, but you're not going to get it through the door. You're not going to go very far, right? So it's not that you're not strong enough. It's just that it's awkward for you to do it by yourself and you're not going to get very far. And have you ever done it? Ever moved like a bookcase that you probably shouldn't have moved by yourself? And you end up scratching the bookcase or dinging the wall, or maybe you break something. I do this more times than I can count, where I feel like I can do it myself. It would be easier if I just had waited for my husband to show up. It'd be easier if I just asked for help because then I wouldn't have dented the bookcase. I wouldn't have scratched the walls. I wouldn't have struggled as much and it would have taken half as long. So, is there something that you're carrying alone that maybe you shouldn't or you don't need to anymore? Also, ask yourself, who does it feel safe to ask for help? Again, these could be the people who you have helped, that you have supported. Are these individuals that you could ask for help? And it's great to have this conversation with yourself now, because in the moment when you truly are needing those big asks, it's good to know, who can I go to? You already know, right? You don't have to sit there and go, is there someone who will show up for me? And heck, you could even have that conversation now. The next time you're hanging out, be like, you know, I can call you, right? If I need something, like you're there for me, right? If it is a true friend, the answer is going to be yes. And so when you do need to ask for help, you're like, oh, yeah, I know. We talked about this, right? So start by using the opportunities to ask for directions or to get something off a top shelf or where the pickles are. Start there. Build that muscle memory. Okay. And then it will get easier. I promise. I just don't want you guys suffering the way that I have suffered, not just when I had really bad vertigo, but for years and years and years of my life, just terrified of feeling inadequate. You're not. You are enough. Strength does not come from doing it all. Strength comes from asking for help, from building that village. And doesn't it feel good, right, when you help someone and then they help you? Doesn't that feel like a much better energy exchange than you constantly just being the one that's showing up for them? I know the one that constantly needs your help is begging for an opportunity to help you. It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to be a human. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're human. So allow yourself to lean on that village and build that village. If asking for help feels hard, it doesn't mean that you're bad at life or you're not enough. It just usually means you were taught to live independently. You're not a burden, okay? Instead, live life interconnected. Live life with purpose and intention. And part of that intention is allowing others to serve you as much as you so willingly serve them. It can be scary going from living so independently to going from asking for help, but it can be unlearned, one small ask at a time. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself. Take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.